Remember what we were discussing in the last class?
Column input.
So we were started discussing about input statement.
Input method.
Input.
So
Input.
now tell me when we use input statement.
We have an instream
In-stream data
instream
or
data
Or text file, sir.
raw data.
or text file.
We use input statement when we have in-stream data or when we have a text file data.
Yes.
Okay. And what we write in the input statement? What?
Variable names.
To specify the variable names, we use input statement. And I told you, input statement also will do one more important thing. What is that one? It
The
describes
arrangement of variables.
it describes the arrangement of data. Okay. And depends upon how we have data, we use different types of input methods. What are the input methods that we have seen?
Column input.
Column input method,
List input.
column list input method,
Formatted.
Formatted
list
input,
input method, formatted input method,
Named
named
input.
input,
Named input. Null input.
and mixed
Mixed
input.
Mixed input method.
Very good. So it depends upon the data. We use a column input method.
Data
Two
when
methods.
aligned.
We have two methods. One is simple listening method, and the second one is advanced or modified input method. And then I told you we have a formatted input method, named input method, null input method, and mixed input method. It all depends upon how we have the data. Based on that, we need to decide which method we should use. Now I told you when we use a column input method.
Data
The
aligned.
data
Should
be in
When
aligned
the
manner.
data,
Aligned manner.
before the alignment data, if the you can see my screen.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Just
Nobody can see.
no, sir. No, sir.
Sorry, I can see my screen.
No,
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
One second. I think you can see my screen, no?
no, sir.
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
But it is showing that
No, sir.
Yes, now visible, sir.
okay.
No.
Now,
Okay, sir.
I told you we can use a column input method. When is the column input method required? When the data contains embedded spaces. But even though the data contains embedded spaces, if the data is in aligned manner, what is the method we can use? We can use a column input method. How we are going to the column input method? I told you in the column input method, in input statement, after each and every variable, you will specify what you specify. Any idea?
Column number.
We will specify column number. What a column number that we specify? We'll specify the starting column, hyphen, ending column.
Ending column.
Isn't it? We are going to specify starting column, hyphen, ending column. I told you those column numbers will tell you from which column to which column we should read the data. So for example, after the ID number, I am going to specify 1-4. Why I'm writing 1-4? Because if I keep my cursor here, I told you we are going to have an hyphen number, column number here 1. Can you see on the right side down of my SAS screen? You can see here 1. And the fourth column is the last column. So whatever the data that we have between 1 to 4 will column to ID number. And the name, we should write the starting column, which is 6. Ending column, we should always keep the highest, the longest value, which is 20. Now name $symbol 6-20. Then we should take the team. if I keep my cursor here, the starting column 25, the longest value yellow before the last character, if I keep my cursor there, 30, you should write 25-30. And then the start weight, if I keep my cursor over here, column number 32, right side down here, if I keep my cursor here, which is 34, so start weight 32-34. And again, end weight, I'm writing 36-38. So now I told you these column numbers will tell you from which column to which column you should read the data into that variable. So not a problem, we are going to get the data. And this is called column input method. I told you column input method has three important advantages. One is even though data contains embedded spaces, we can read the data. And the second advantage is you can write the variable names in the any order. And the third advantage is you can read the variable with any length.
Variable with any length.
But only one condition, that condition is data should be in aligned manner. Then only we can use this method. Understand this one? This is what we have seen in the last class. So now execute the program. Now here in the work library, yes, we have a weight club data set, and yes, we got the data. Now, once you're done with the column input method, the next method that we have is simple. Sorry, we have list input method. In the list input method, we have two methods. The first one is called as a simple list input method. And what is the simple list input method? Say, for example, this is the method we are using every day. So this is my data. Do we have any complications in this data? Whenever you have a data, whenever your data, must look into the data and decide what method you should use. Do we have any complications in this? No. We have, ID number, space, name. We have name, one word names.
Sir,
Less than 8
screen is
characters.
not visible.
Screen gone.
Oh my God. Why this is happening again and again?
It's not visible, sir.
Now it's visible, sir.
Okay. Now it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The data is very simple, and we have all the variable values one words, so we can easily create a data set. Now data, I want to have a data set name, say for example, weight club 1, semicolon. I do not require in-file statement because we do not require any in-file statement options. So I'm not writing in-file. I told you in the last class, if you don't write the in-file statement, SAS thinks by default it is in-stream data. Now I'm writing the input. I want to have ID number. Then I want to have a name variable, $symbol. Then I want to have a team variable, $symbol character data. So then I'm writing the start weight. Then I'm writing the end weight. And finally, keep a semicolon, write the data lines. No complications in this data. Very simple. Now you know that 1023 will go to ID number. And because we have space, I told you space or 8 characters, whichever comes first. So 1023 will go to ID number. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. David will go to name, and red will go to team. 189 will go to start weight. 165 will go to end weight. Understand this one? So 5 variables, 5 values. So total we have 6 observations. Now if I execute this program, yes, we are going to have 8 club 1 data set. This is called simple list input method. What do you mean by simple list input method? Simply, we specify the variable names in the order of the data. Whatever the data that we have in the same order in the input statement, if you specify the variable names, that is called simple list input method. In the simple list method, if a variable is a character variable, you should write the $symbol. If it is a numerical variable, you no need to write any symbol. So whatever the method that we are using every day, what is that method? That is the simple list input method. Understand this one?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is my data. Can somebody tell me what method we can use if the data is like this one?
Column input.
Why column input method?
Because the data is aligned in the same manner.
Embedded
No,
space.
first of all, data contains embedded space. So we cannot use a normal method. So, and the second point is data in aligned manner. So we can use column input method. But I do not want to use a column input method. I'm going to use a different method now. See, data. I want to have weight club 2. I'm writing weight club 2. Semicolon. Now input, I want to have ID number, name, dollar symbol, team, dollar symbol. Then I want to have a start weight. Then I want to have end weight. Semicolon. Then I'm writing the data lines. Will you get the data if I execute this program?
No.
No, because you know
No,
that
sir.
name contains embedded space. So 1023 will go to ID number, David will go to name, Shah will go to team. And the red should go to start weight, but it cannot understand. 189 will go to end weight. And 165 will be get ignored.
Ignored.
So that's why if I execute this program, you will not get the data properly. But you know, if you have data like this one, you can use a column input method. But I do not want to use a column input method. So in the simple list input method, we have a second method, and this is called second method of simple list input. Okay. Now in this method, what you will do? What is the main characteristic of simple list input method? Simple list input method అంటే ఏంటండి? You should always write variable names in the order of data. డేటా ఏ ఆర్డర్ లో ఉందో అదే ఆర్డర్ లో మనం వేరియబుల్ నేమ్స్ రాయాలండి. రాసిన తర్వాత చూడండి, జస్ట్ ఇమాజిన్, ఐఎమ్ టెలింగ్ ఎన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. జస్ట్ ఇమాజిన్ దిస్ లైన్ ఈజ్ ఎ బ్రెడ్. దీని ఒక బ్రెడ్ అనుకోండి. బ్రెడ్ లో నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ స్లైసెస్ ఉంటాయండి. జస్ట్ ఇమాజిన్ ఈచ్ స్లైస్ ఈజ్ ఎ కాలమ్ అండ్ వన్ కాలమ్ ఈజ్ వన్ స్లైస్. This is one slice, this is the second slice, third slice, fourth slice, this is the fifth slice. In this way, a bread is going to have a number of slices. So just imagine one record is one bread, and in that one bread, one column is in a one slice. If you imagine in that way, now can you please tell me how many slices I should give it for ID number?
1 to 4.
No, don't say 1 to 4. How many slices?
4.
4 slices, isn't it?
4.
1 to 4 అనకూడదు. ఎన్ని slices? 4 slices అవ్వాలి.
Your
Now what
screen
should I do?
not visible.
Screen.
Screen not visible.
Yeah, no, okay.
So ID number, and after the ID number, you know what I'm going to do? Give one space at least, and then write 4 slices, 4, that means 4 columns dot. You know, after immediately the column numbers, number of columns you have written, and you should keep a dot symbol. So that means in each and every line, the first 4 columns, I want to give it to ID number. Understand this one? Now tell me how many columns I should give for the name. How many columns I should give for the name?
15.
You know, the longest name that we have. So what should I do? Name, and I'm 15 dot. Name dollar 15 dot. So that means the next 15 columns of each and every line, I want to give it to name. And then what is the next variable that we have? Team variable. Can anybody tell me how many columns we should give for the team?
6.
Because we have a yellow is 6. We should write the 6 columns. So team dollar symbol. Then I'm going to specify 6 dot. Then tell me how many columns I should give for the start weight.
3, sir.
3. Because we have 3 digits, we should give the 3 dot. And how many columns you should give for end weight?
3, sir.
Now we should give the 3 dot. So this is called second method of a simple list input method. But there is a problem with this method. You know, say This is the bread. How many slices I'm giving for the ID number?
4.
So see,
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 columns will go to ID number. Okay. As soon as you are done with the ID number, what is the next variable that we have? Name.
Name.
And
Name.
how many columns are allocated for the name variable?
15 columns.
15.
What name is going to do? It is going to start immediately after the 4th column. 4th
Yes.
column immediately start చేస్తుంది. This one also will read into name. So 1, 2, 3,
This also
4,
considered.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So these columns will go to. So that means from here to up to here. These will go to which variable now?
Name
Name.
variable.
Name variable.
So that means in MetNight, T is not coming into name variable. Now after the name variable, what is the next variable that we have?
Team variable.
Immediately after the 15th column, now the team value will start. Now here, from here to 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we have a team value here?
No.
No. We have somewhere team value from here, but unfortunately team is reading from to here to here. So from every line, it is going to here to here. So that means team value will not come properly into team variable. Now tell me, if you're done with here up to team, what is the next variable that we have? Start weight. What is the length I have given? Start weight 3. So it will start here 1, 2, 3. But do we have start weight here?
No.
No.
In character.
So that means
numerical
when you're
value.
giving,
screen.
you know, when you
Screen is gone.
Sir, can't play screen. Your screen gone, sir.
And sometimes the
somebody,
screen is freezing as well, sir.
no, somebody, you know what they're trying, they're trying to share their screen. That's why my screening is going off. Please, you guys do not share your screen. I hope now you can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have start weight somewhere here, but unfortunately, what SAS is going to do? SAS is going to read this value into start weight, and from here to next 3 columns into end weight. So that's why if I use this method, I am not going to get the data properly. Again, gone my screen.
No, sir.
Okay, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Now see, if I open the weight club 2, this is how I'm going to get the data. That means I'm not getting the data properly. You know what you should do if you want to use this method? If you want to use this second method of simple list input method, in this method, you know what we should do? You should read to the previous variable until the next variable is getting started. Okay, now?
Yes, sir. Screen.
I connected from not from the what you call the main user, so that's why it is giving trouble. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you want to use this method, you know what should I do? I should not give 4 columns to ID number. I should give 5 columns
5.
because until the next variable getting started, I should give it to previous variable. So that means if I give 5 dot, then what is going to do? So the first 5 columns will go to ID number, and then next it will start from here. Then tell me how many columns I should give for the name. So from starting value until the next value is getting started, you should give it to the name variable. So that means actually we have 15, 16, and 17, 18, and 19 columns. So that means if you want to read the name value properly, what we should do, instead of 15 dot, you should give 19 dot. Understand this one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, then what should I do for the team variable then? How many columns I should give for the team?
7.
7.
7. Very good. Because here to up to
Sir, voice. Sir, no voice.
Voice.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
Sir, screen also gone.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Now, so tell me how many columns I should give for the end weight. Since end weight is the last variable, so 3 columns is also enough. So if you want to use this method, you should give until the next variable is getting started. You should give it to the previous variable. Now see, if I select the program and execute the program, yes, we are going to have a weight club data set and weight club 2. If I open this one, am I getting the data properly? Yes, we got the data, isn't it? That means when the data is in aligned manner, even though data contains embedded spaces, how we can read the data? We can read the data by using 2 methods. We can use a column input method, and we can also use a second method of a simple list input method. What is the difference between column input method and second method of simple list method? In the column input method, we can write the variable names in any order. But here we cannot write the variables in any order. We should always write the variable names in the order of the data. Only in the order of the data. Understand this one? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
this is
sir.
called, but in the simple listing method, we have too many drawbacks. One is you should always set the variable names in the order of the data, and data should be in aligned manner. Since we have too many drawbacks, to overcome all these drawbacks, to overcome all these setbacks, now we have the next method, which is called as an advanced list input method. Advanced list input method. In the advanced input method, what we are going to do to overcome all these drawbacks, we are going to use some modifiers. some special characters, and these special characters are called modifiers. Since we are using these modifiers, this method also called as a modifier input method or modifier list input method. Understand this one? Modifier list input method. What are the modifiers that we are going to use? If you want to read the character data, we are going to use a modifier called, dollar symbol. You know why we use the dollar symbol? Do you know why we use the dollar symbol?
Character.
To read the character data.
Character
And
data.
sometimes we use ampersand symbol. Sometimes we use colon symbol. And sometimes we use a tidal symbol. Sometimes we use a plus symbol. And sometimes we are going to use hash symbol. And sometimes it depends upon the data. Sometimes we use a forward slash symbol. And sometimes we also use multiple input statements. Multiple input statements. So since I'm using these special characters as modifiers, since I can use these special characters are modifiers, and this is called modifier list input method. And what are those modifiers and how we can use those modifiers, and we are going to see that one in today's class. Okay, now this is my data. I want to create a data set, and the data is a very pretty straightforward. I want to create a data set. Now data, I want to have a data set name called demo. I'm writing input. I want to have a variable called name, and I want to have a variable called score1, and I want to have a variable called score2. Then I want to have a variable called score3. Then I want to have a variable called team. Now tell me, if I execute this program, in how many variables and in what variables I will get the data, in which variables I will not get the data? Anybody?
Numerical data will get
Name, we need dollar symbol, sir.
score 1, score 2, score 3 will get
We
data.
need
Sir.
dollar.
We will get the data in score 1, score 2, score 3, but you will not get the data in the name and team. If you want to get the name data in the name and team, what we should do?
Screen, sir.
Again, we lost the screen.
$5.
Again,
We have
screen
1
gone,
second. What we should do? If you want to read the data successfully, we should use a dollar symbol of the name variable. And this name of this dollar symbol is a special modifier that we use to read the character data. And again, I should use the same dollar symbol of the team variable. Again, I should specify the dollar symbol here. Now, if I select the program and execute the program, now in the name and the team also, you will get the data. So tell me why I'm using a dollar symbol now. Dollar symbol is a modifier that to read the character data. To read the character data, we use a dollar modifier.
Dollar symbol.
కాల్స్ కిందకి నువ్వు కాల్స్ ఎందుకు చేస్తావు వాళ్ళకి? ఓన్లీ కాల్స్కే కదా, నెట్ కూడా కావాలా?
The screen is not visible, sir.
Not visible. I don't know why it is happening.
Log in once more, sir.
I log in through my ID. That is the problem. I didn't log in through institute ID. Maybe because that is the reason.
Hello. Yes, Srinivas sir.
Sir.
The main thing అదే ఇష్యూ ఎవరో డైరెక్ట్ గా వాళ్ళ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేస్తున్నారు, అదే ప్రాబ్లం.
Somebody is trying to share their screen.
That's the reason only again and again we're facing the problem. అకౌంట్ ఇష్యూ కాదు, సంథింగ్ కంప్లీట్ అదే ఇష్యూ. వాళ్ళకి లాగిన్ అవ్వడం సంథింగ్ ఏదో ప్రాబ్లం వచ్చేసరికి వాళ్ళు డైరెక్ట్ స్క్రీన్ క్లిక్ చేస్తున్నారు. యా ఫైన్ సార్, ఓకే. రేపు ఒకసారి మార్నింగ్ చేద్దాం, ఒక 10 minutes 15 minutes బిఫోర్. గైస్ ప్లీజ్ జాయిన్ టుమారో బిఫోర్ లైక్ 10 minutes. Okay, I will explain like some options in here.
Join at 6:50 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow we didn't get this problem. Yeah. Okay, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Now, this is my data. I want to create a data set. Now, can somebody tell me what is the method that we can use to read this data?
Column input method.
Can I use a column input method?
No, sir. Data is
No, no,
not.
no, sir. No, sir.
Hmm.
Is
We
not
cannot
in
use a
alignment.
column input method because the data is not in alignment. So,
Second input method.
but if you want to use the second input method also,
Data
that
should
is
be
also
in alignment.
data should
No,
be in
sir.
aligned manner. Data. I want to create a weight club. I want to create a weight club 3. I'm writing input statement. Yes, I want to have ID number, name, character variable dollar symbol. Then I want to have in a team character variable dollar symbol. Then I'm going to specify start weight, and then I'm going to specify the end weight. Then finally, I am writing the data lines. Will I get the data? No, because 1023 will go to ID number. That is fine, but only David will go to name. Shah will go to team. So that means we are not getting the data properly. So then what we should do? Data contains embedded spaces, but unfortunately, the data is not in aligned manner. So we cannot use a column input method or a second method of simulation method or a normal method. But if you carefully observe this data, there is some specialty in this data. Then values which contains embedded space. The values which contains embedded space, which means name values, and the next variable values, which is the team value. Every time in all the scenarios, it is separating with at least minimum 2 consecutive spaces. Can you see this one? Between the name and the team values, we have minimum 2 consecutive spaces. If we have at least 2 minimum consecutive spaces, minimum of 2 consecutive spaces, now we can use a modifier called ampersand symbol. Generally, manam and antamandi, we should not call it as an M and we should call it as an ampersand. ఏం పిలవాలండి దాన్ని ఆంపర్సండ్ అని పిలవాలండి. We should not call it as an and symbol. What this ampersand can do, what ampersand can do? It can read past the single space. అంటే సింగిల్ స్పేస్ ఉన్నా కానీ రీడ్ చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోతుందండి. It can read past single space, but it will stop if you have minimum 2 consecutive spaces. సింగిల్ స్పేస్ ఉన్నా రీడ్ చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోతుంది, కానీ ఎప్పుడు ఆగిపోతుందండి? If you have 2 consecutive spaces, it will stop there.
సార్ ఒక డౌట్.
Yes.
ఇప్పుడు ఒక ఫస్ట్ లైన్ లో ఒక స్పేస్ ఉండి సెకండ్ లైన్ లో 2 or 3 స్పేసెస్ ఉంటే అప్పుడు రీడ్ చేస్తుందా?
It will stop there. Say for example, your question is, say for example, David Shah, 2 spaces ready. Now what will happen? It will stop at 2 consecutive spaces because it cannot read 2 consecutive spaces, but it can read single space.
Okay.
Understand?
Okay, sir.
So in which variable we have embedded space? In which variable values we have embedded space in this data?
Name variable.
Name variable.
In the input statement, after the name variable, before the dollar symbol, we should write
Screen, sir.
Screen.
I think somebody using their mobile and they're even now and then they're clicking on the screen. This is the problem we are getting. And I'm seriously telling you.
Control to all the participants.
I didn't give any control.
Maybe you can change in the settings.
The owner can do that one.
Yeah, the organizer can do that.
Yeah, the organizer can do.
Yeah, presenter can share the screen, and if you give the control, the participants can also share the screen.
So I am a participant now. I need to share the screen, right? He has to give permission to me because I'm not the organizer.
Okay, then you have to join as an organizer.
Yeah. From tomorrow, I'll do that one. Okay.
Sir, I
now,
have a doubt.
Yes.
if single variable లో more than 2 spaces ఉందండి అప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి?
If you have more than 2 consecutive spaces.
Yes sir, in single variable.
So that means in the David Shah, between the David and Shah, you have 2 consecutive spaces.
Yes
There
sir.
is a doubt.
Yes sir.
So the ampersand cannot read 2 spaces, it will stop there. So what ampersand can do, it can read past a single space, but it will stop if you have minimum 2 consecutive spaces. And what we should do if you have 2 consecutive spaces between one variable value, we'll see that one later. Understand this one? Now, you know,
Yes,
you know
sir.
that 1, 0, 2, 3 will go to ID number, and now it will start here. You know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After David, what we have here? Single space, right?
Embedded space.
But since we have an embedded space, we have an ampersand symbol. Now what it will do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will read the single space also. 6, 7, 8. Because by default, what is the length of the variable? 8.
8.
So it will read DAVID David space SH. It will read up to that point. Now see, that's why if I select this program and execute the program, yes, we have a weight club 3. Now, can you see how we have the name values? Yes, we could able to read the single space, but by default, since the length of the variable is only 8, now can you see how much we have read? We read maximum only 8 characters. But if you read only 8 characters, you will not get the complete data. Then what we should do? You know, if you want to read the longest name also, what is the length of the longest name that we have in this example? We have Ashley McNate, and Ashley McNate is length around 15. Now, if you want to read that value also properly, you know what we should do? In the input statement, name variable, I specified the ampersand symbol. Then since it's a character variable dollar symbol, and after that, how much of a length you want to read that, now we should write that length value dot symbol. Now what SAS is going to do? Now it will start from the starting of the name value. Now remember the condition, you know what it is going to do? It is going to read up to 2 consecutive spaces, or the length that we specified, or end of the record, whichever comes first, it will stop there. అంటే నేమ్ కి నేను యాంపర్సండ్ సింబల్ పెట్టానండి, తర్వాత క్యారెక్టర్ వాల్యూ కాబట్టి డాలర్ సింబల్ ఇచ్చాను, తర్వాత ఏం చేశాను చూడండి, ఐ స్పెసిఫైడ్ ఎ లెంత్ 15 డాట్. Now what it will do? The priority is like this one. You know, it is going to check which is coming first. 2 consecutive spaces are coming first, or the length that we specified is coming first, or end of the record is coming first. Whichever comes first, it will stop there. Now, can you tell me in this scenario, which is coming first? Now see, 1,
Consecutive space.
4, 5, 6, 7. Because 6 ఏ స్పేస్ ఉందండి ఇక్కడ? This is a single space. It can read past a single space. 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you see how we have what we have here? We have 2 consecutive spaces. It will stop there.
Spaces.
It will stop there. Now we'll come over here. If you see the Amelia said, you know what it will do? Now see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Again, we have 2 consecutive spaces here. It will stop there. So it is going to check which is coming first. Say for example, say now if I select this program, execute this program, yes, we are going to have 8 club 3. But can you see we have the data? Now just imagine, I specified, you know, length 25. Okay, I do not have, say for example, 2 consecutive spaces here. I have only 1 space. Now what SAS is going to do? It will start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many spaces here we have? 1 space. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many spaces we have here? Only 1 space. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Again, we have only 1 space. 19, 20, 21, 22. We have end of the record. It will stop here. Because my length is 25. Which is coming first అండి? 2 consecutive spaces ఫస్ట్ వస్తున్నాయా? నేను స్పెసిఫై చేసే లెంత్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందా? ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ది రికార్డ్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందా? ఈ scenario
End of the record.
it is going to read up to end of the record. But say for example, I have length of only 15. Now, can you tell me in this example, which is coming first now? See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single space, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, single space 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Which is coming first now?
Length.
The length that I specified is coming first. So it will stop there. So now tell me what is ampersand is going to do. Ampersand will read data from the starting until it reaches 2 consecutive spaces, or the length that we specified, or end of the record, whichever comes first, it will stop there. Understand this one? So in my original data, I have 3 consecutive spaces here. Now in any given scenario, what is happening? Every time 2 consecutive spaces are coming first, so every time it is going to stop there. In only Ashley magnet scenario, the 2 consecutive spaces and the length that what I specified both are coming at the same time. That's why it will stop there. And this is called ampersand. When we can use ampersand? Even though data contains embedded spaces, and if the data is in non-aligned manner also, we can use we can use ampersand. But what is the condition if you want to use ampersand? The values which contains embedded space and the next value should be separated with at least 2 consecutive spaces. Then only we can use ampersand method. Understand everybody?
Yes.
Can you repeat once?
So still it is getting stuck. Somebody getting a lot of background noise. Sit in idle place. Look, no, somebody is sharing. Ajay Reddy,
Sir,
can you keep your mic and mute? Or you're sitting at with watching some TV or something. Okay. Generally, say for example, if you want to create a data set from this data, what is the problem with this data? Data first of all contains embedded space. So embedded space unte ganaka em method vadochandi? Column input method. But here I cannot even column input method also. The reason, if you want to use a column input method, data should be in aligned manner. So that means I cannot use simple list input method, and I cannot use a column input method. But here there is a peculiarity with this data. What is that peculiarity, specialty? The values which contains embedded space and the next variable value separating with 2 consecutive spaces, minimum 2 consecutive spaces. If this is the situation, what we can do? We can use a modifier called ampersand. What is the ability of ampersand? What is the characteristic of an ampersand? Ampersand can read the single space also. Generally, SAS engines single space was stop అయిపోతుంది. But what ampersand can do? Ampersand can read past single space. But where it will stop? If we have a 2 consecutive spaces, it will stop. So single space unte ganaka read cheskunte వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. It can jump a single space, but it cannot jump if you have a 2 consecutive spaces. Understand? Now I'm going to use that ability of ampersand to read this data successfully. So now tell me which variable values contains that embedded space. Name value. So variable name. So since it's a character value dollar symbol, before the dollar symbol, you have to specify ampersand symbol. Now what this ampersand can do, it can easily read past the single space. But since the length of the variable by default we have 8, now what it will every time it can read only 8 characters. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every time it can read only 8. But if I read only 8, I'm not getting the name data completely. Data is getting truncated. If you want to read the name data successfully, all the names, what should I do? What we should do? We should calculate what is the longest name, what is the longest length. what is the lengthy name that we have? Ashley McKnight. If you want to read this data also successfully into name, what is the minimum length that we require? The minimum length that we require at least 15, because Ashley McKnight is 15. Now, to read the data successfully, how to increase the length of the variable now? You can write a dollar symbol 15 dot. Now here we have a ampersand symbol. We have a to read character data dollar symbol, and we have a width 15 dot. Now what is going to happen? What ampersand is going to do? Now we are going to have a 3 conditions. Which is satisfying first is important. Now it will start here. Understand the condition. It will read from the starting until it reaches 2 consecutive spaces, or the length that we specified, or end of the record, whichever comes first, it will stop there. Okay, Mari, put first example lo, which one is coming first? Which is coming first? Two consecutive spaces first వస్తున్నాయా? నేను మెన్షన్ చేసే లెంత్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందా, ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద రికార్డ్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందండి?
Consecutive spaces.
2 consecutive spaces coming first, it will stop there. So నాకు ఇక్కడ 2 consecutive spaces కనుక లేవు అనుకోండి, now tell me which is coming first now?
Length.
Length that we specified.
Length is coming first, so it will read maximum now. How ఏ రీడ్ చేస్తుందండి ఇప్పుడు maximum? ఇప్పుడు ఏది రీడ్ అవుతుందండి ఫస్ట్, ఎక్కడ స్టాప్ అవుతుందండి? ఇప్పుడు నాకు 2 consecutive spaces లేదు కాబట్టి నెక్స్ట్ ప్రయారిటీ ఎవరికి ఇస్తుందండి?
Length.
The length that I specified 15, it will stop at the 15. నేను అలా కాకుండా ఇక్కడ 25 35 రాస్తుంది అనుకో, నాకు లెంత్ ఇప్పుడు which is coming first now?
End of the record.
End of the record. So it will read up to end of the record. Understand this situation? So that's why now since I have a 2 consecutive spaces, minimum 2 consecutives between the name, since I have a 2 minimum consecutive spaces, now I will go with this method, which is an ampersand method. Clear everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want to create a data set. Now I'm taking the data 101. Name is, say for example, Rupa Govardhan 21, 102, Kim 25, 103, Ramakrishna Reddy 26. I have 104, X 29, 105. Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan 30, and I have 106, Sony 20. This is my data. I want to create a data set. Okay, now tell me how to write a program. Data, I want to have a data set called DS1. Since we have in stream data, you no need to specify in file statement. Directly I'm writing input statement. I want to have ID. Then I want to have a name, character variable, dollar symbol. Then I want to have an age, keep a semicolon. Then I'm writing the data lines. And finally, I'm going to keep semicolon run. Now, can somebody tell me, according to your current knowledge, if I execute this program, how I'm going to have DS1 dataset? Anybody? Can you please explain me?
The statement, sir.
What is going to happen?
Screen, sir.
Observation.
Can you stuck in normally?
Sir.
If I execute this program, what is going to happen? What is the scenario in the DS1 dataset?
It will execute it, but in name column, total name is not executed. Only 8 characters.
Very good. So 101 will go to DS1. Sorry, 10 will go to ID. And so after the space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do not have space anywhere. So you know that it can read maximum 8 characters. ROO, PA, GOV will go to name. And what is going to happen to remaining part? This will be get ignored.
Ignore.
That will be get ignored. And 21 will go to again age.
Eight.
So second observation, not a problem. We have only 3 characters name, we will get it. But in the third observation, again 103 will go to ID. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only this part will go to name, and the remaining part will be get ignored. So again, fourth observation, not a problem. Again, in the fifth observation, you will not get the complete data. So that's why if I select the program and execute the program, this is how we have the DS1 data set. So in the first, third, fifth observation, I'm not getting the data properly, complete data. Now, if I want to read all the names without any truncation, what is the maximum length that I should use for the name variable? The longest name that we have in Lakshman Shivaram Krishnan, you know, the first column here, if you see on the right side down, can you see my column number if I keep my cursor?
5, sir. Yeah.
5. Starting column 5. If I keep my cursor at before the last character, what is the column number I am having?
27.
27. So 27 minus 5 is equal to how much?
22.
20.
So that means I require length 22. So now what should I do? I'm going to specify 22 dot. ఈ మెథడ్ ఇంతకు ముందు ఎక్కడ యూజ్ చేసామండి మనం? Here we used it in the second method of simple listening method. Here. Now tell me, if I specify 22, what is going to happen to this data? Now, every time it looks for 122, now see 101 will go to ID, and after the space it will start here name. What is the length I had given for the name? 22. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Actual name length ఎంత ఉందండి ఇక్కడ 14. But since I specified the length 22, this and this also will go to which variable now?
Name variable.
Since I specified the 22, every time it looks for 22. But do we require every time 22? No. Only in the worst case, in the fifth observation, only we require 22. But every time it looks for 22, that's why we will not get the data properly. Now, can you see what is going to happen? Even Ropa over, then 21 will go to name. Since the 21 is gone to name, we do not have a age value. Now age will get the data from this one because of floor option. So this will be get ignored. So that means you will not get the data properly. So then what we should do? You know, the specialty of this data, even though the names contains more than 8 characters, sometimes we do not have any embedded space. We have a continuous names without any space. If the data is in this manner, now what should I do? Tell the SAS system, please read the data from the starting until it reaches single space or the length that I specified or end of the record, whichever comes first, it will stop there. Understand this one? అంటే సింగిల్ స్పేస్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందా, మీరు మెన్షన్ చేసే లెంత్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తుందా, ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ది రికార్డ్ ఫస్ట్ వస్తే, ఏది ఫస్ట్ వస్తే అక్కడ స్టాప్ చేసి అని చెప్పాలండి. టు డూ దట్ వన్, నౌ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు యూజ్ an advanced modifier called colon symbol. You know what the colon symbol can do? It reads data from the starting until it reaches single space or the length that I specified or end of the record. Whichever comes first, it will stop there. Now, can you tell me in any given scenario, which is coming first?
Space.
Single space is coming first. So it will stop there. Only in this scenario, the length of 22 and the space both are coming at the same time, it will stop there. In all the other scenarios, single space is coming first, so it will stop there. Now that's why I am specifying the colon symbol. Now I am executing the program. Yes, we have a DS1. Now can you see? We have got the data successfully into the name variable. Maripudu, tell me what is the difference between ampersand and colon? Ampersand ki colon ki difference entandi? Ampersand em chestundandi? Starting nunchi until it reaches
Two consecutive spaces
or the length that we specified or end of the record, whichever comes first, it will stop there. But colon symbol em chestundandi? Starting nunchi it will read up to
single space
or
single space
or
Length.
the length that I
Length
specified,
that we
or
specified.
end of the record, whichever comes first.
End of the record.
Whichever comes first, it will stop there. Understand the difference between ampersand and colon?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So when we have embedded spaces, but that value and the next, and the data is a non-aligned manner, but that value and the next value, if it is separating with the two consecutive spaces, we will go with ampersand. But if the data values are continuous values without any spaces, but if you have, irregular values lengthwise, then we use a colon symbol. Understand this one?
Yes, sir.
Is this clear? So these are
Yeah,
the
sir.
3 methods that we use in today's class, and I'll continue the remaining modified input methods in the next class. Okay? I'll make sure tomorrow you will not have any disturbances during the class. Okay? So please connect tomorrow at least by 6:55, so that if you have any issues, we are going to sort it out. Okay? Please join tomorrow at 6:55. See you tomorrow.
Excuse me.